Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us to our first Friday Happy Math Hour. I hope you guys had a good start of the semester, um, and hope to see you every Friday here for the Friday Happy Math Hour. So, for today's session, we're gonna go over navigating your WebAssign and my MATLAB courses. So, the website for all of those who are taking Math 13, 14, and my MATLAB courses are for all of those who are taking the Intro to Business classes. Okay, so the Math 13, 24. So let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it on the chat, and we will try to answer your questions. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so again, um, the courses that we'll be focusing on for our Happy Math Hour um, are NCBM 0114, the NCBM 0314, the Math 1314. Again, these are for the pre-calculus classes, and for the business classes, we have the NCBM 0124, the NCBM 0324, and the Math 1324. So, so let's start first with the WebAssign. So for all of those of you who are doing the pre-calculus, the college algebra and geometry, you will need a WebAssign account. And the neat thing about using WebAssign this year is you no longer have to purchase the access code. For most of you. Okay, so your instructor on your syllabus is going to give you what's called a class key. That is to get into the classroom and be able to start working on the homework. So to get there, you're going to go to webassign.net, and it's going to give you this front screen. And what you'll do is you'll click on the enter class key given by your instructor. And when you do that, well, like I said, you're going to enroll yourselves. So here, this is an example of what the class key looks like, given by your instructor. It's going to start with an EPCC and a total of 8 numbers. Okay, so once you put that in, it's going to take you to the Cengage homepage, to your website. Okay, so you should be able to see, for instance, as an example here, you should be able to see your instructor's name and your CRN of your course. Okay, all right. So let's go through some of these icons, some of the things that you can do once you log on to your WebAssign. So one of the things that you can do is um, change your password or add another email if you want to. You can also add other courses or look if there's other listings for your courses if you're taking the semester and your other instructors other than math are using WebAssign. And also, um, I get this question a lot. Okay, some of you guys don't like the ebook. Some of you guys like to have a hard copy book. So you're able to rent one. Okay, I believe it's only $7 to rent a book. And again, they'll mail it to you, and then you'll have to mail it back. I do have to let you know that it is not necessary to purchase a book. Um, um, your ebook is enough for your class. Again, the book is the ebook. It has all the information that the hard book has. But again, if you are one of those that likes to have a hard copy book, just to leaf through, you're able to rent one. Okay. All right. So one of the nice things also that you can do for your course is change the language. Okay. So let's say that you rather read the instructions or your titles would like to be in a different language. So you, as an example, we can change it to Spanish, right? We live here in a border town, so we have a lot of Spanish speakers of our students. So if you wish to have your information in Spanish, the titles and all of that and instructions, you can go ahead and change that language. Okay. and it's that little button with a little world on it. Right now it says EN. It would be for English, but we can change it again to a different language. All right, so again, this is an example of what it would look like to do that. Like as the example, if I change it to Spanish, it's going to say tu periodo de prueba and blah blah blah, right? So it just changes all the instructions into Spanish. All right, so we have another little icon here. So this is to get notifications, and this one's crucial, especially for those of you who, if you're taking online classes, your instructors will constantly send you messages, informations, deadlines of stuff that are coming on. So you want to be on top of that. So you want to turn on your notifications, let you know when assignments are due, anything that any announcements, how fast you want them to come in. Versus me, when I set this up, I like to have my announcements right away. As soon as someone sends me something, I want to know right away that something has come in. Okay. All right. So again, I was talking about your ebook. So this is where you would find your book. Okay. Um, Again, we are doing pre-calculus. The Math 1314 is the first part of college algebra and geometry. So um, this is where you will find it. Okay. Also, I believe we have a section 2 for the resources. Okay. So if you go onto your homepage on the very bottom, you can, if you don't want to bypass also the book, you have resources where you're gonna find all the lectures and videos and slides of all that nature. Okay. Um, let's see. Let me continue. All right, so we have again communication. The communication tab is if you want to contact your instructor, send messages. Your grades, if you want to know where you currently stand again. This is just the model. It says an F, but that's because it was just a blank. There's no work done, so that's why it says an F. But once you start working, your website will have a running grade. Okay, you'll always know where you stand in your class. Okay? All right, and then again, the most important one are my assignments. This is where when you click in, this is where you'll find your your homework, your quizzes, everything that your instructor has set up for your class. You will find it on your under your assignments. All right, so as I had mentioned to you, you have also resources and insights to help you throughout the semester. Okay. So and this is the one that's most important. You're gonna find it way at the bottom when you log onto your website. You click under the resources, and the resources is where you're going to find um, the PowerPoint. Let's say that you like to look at PowerPoints with examples of how the problems are done. Well, here's where you'll find them. Or let's say you want to find a video of a certain section. This is where you'll also find it. Okay. So it's very important that you find the resources to help you um, with your class. All right, so WebAssign also has also this nice personal study plan. Okay, so it's to tell you and to practice for upcoming sections. Let's say you read the book, but you need a little bit more information. So here's where you can find it. You can tailor the sections that you would want more help in. Okay, so again, this is what the assignments look like when you click under the assignments. On this particular example, we have here chapter 1, homeworks sections 1.1 to 1.3. Um, and then once we can click on them, okay, and they can tell you, you know, how much time you have remaining as far as there's some assignments, excuse me, there's some assignments that are either password protected or have a lockdown browser. So the lockdown browser is is an application that will not allow you to exit WebAssign. So these are crucial, or these are used for quizzes and exams. So please do not minimize your screen or try to exit out once you start a quiz or an exam, because if you do so, the system will kick you out, and your grade might stand, depending on your instructor on how they handle that, and your grade might stand. Um, the lockdown browser also controls how much time do you have for the assignments. And again, normally these are for the quizzes and exams. Some of your instructors might time your quizzes and exams. All right, so tools within the assignments. So these are very, very important. I always tell my students that this is the best way that you can reach us out. So let's say that you are doing a problem and you're not sure, you're not exactly sure how what the system is asking you to do. So the first line of help is right below the questions. Now some of them have these features, some of them don't. And I'll tell you what else you can do. But the first options that you have is right below the questions. If you click on the read it, the system will take you directly to the section and chapter of the book where you can find more information on the type of question that they're asking you. Okay. So let's say that you read the book, you've seen it, but you're still not sure exactly what to do, then you can click on the watch it. The watch it is an example of another problem that is very similar, and it goes step by step on what you have to do and how you're supposed to enter it. Now, let's say that these buttons are not there or you're still unsure. So the other line of help that you have is right on top, the box on the top with the three blue boxes. Um, Here, the one that you can do is ask your instructor. And I love this one because when you click on that, it gives you a text box to reach out to your instructor, tell them what the difficulty you're having or your question. And when you submit that, your instructor gets a notification. And I personally love it because it tells me who you are, what problem you're in, what class you're in. I don't have to look to see what classroom you're in. WebAssign will tell me what class the question is coming from in the problem. So it speeds up the process to help you answer the question. Okay. And then again, you have to practice another example. Let's say that you still want to practice or still not sure. Well, this is the way to practice. Now, the practice another example, it's not going to affect your grade. That's for you to answer the problem, see if you really understand what the problem is asking. So these are great tools to help you with your course. All right. So we go into the My Math Lab. Let me ask, Mr. Sassi, would you like to take care of this one? If not, I can continue. It's fine. All right. I'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so for My Math Lab, again, is for those students who are doing 1324, the Intro to Business. So this is another platform. This one is by Pearson. So when if you're in this class, to register, you're gonna go to mymathlab dot I believe .com, and you're gonna click on student. And again, just like WebAssign, your instructor on the syllabus is going to provide an course ID. The course ID it's a very similar number like the one for WebAssign. You're gonna type that in, and again, once you do that, your professor's name should appear here and your course number and all that to let you know that this is a class. All right, so you're gonna create your account. So you're gonna create a username and password. Um, and then once you do that, again, on this particular one, you want to purchase the access code. MyMathLab, I believe, gives you a trial period of, I believe it's 10 days that they let you try it out and work with it, but you do have to buy an access code. Okay, the cheapest way or the least expensive way to get an access code is directly through Pearson. Okay, now for those of you who actually want to buy the access code, you can. I would recommend that you go to the EPCC bookstores. Okay, um, because you can you can purchase a book outside the EPCC bookstore, but it may not come with the access code, or if it does come with it, gotta keep in mind that if it's already access codes only work for only once. So if someone already used it, then you still need to purchase the access code. So again, the best way to make sure that you have the correct access code is through the EPCC bookstore. And I believe the EPCC bookstore sells a package. They sell you the code and like a soft cover book, okay, to make it less expensive. All right, so once you're done, again, once you've created your access, either done the temporary or you had already purchased your access, again, you're gonna have the title here of your class. This is the class that I'm taking, NCBM Math 1324, and it's the 0124. And an example, you will have your ID. This is me, the instructor, Ruben Carrizales, and man, this one's old. This one is when the course started on May or ends on May 14th, 2021. Okay, so then when I go to my courses, I'm gonna enroll in the course. Okay, again, your instructor is going to have that information with you, your ID to have gotten. So this is an example of as far as the calendar that's on there. This will tell you of announcements that are coming up. It also tells you when homeworks are due. The homeworks are in blue circles. Whenever you have quizzes, they'll be on orange boxes. Okay, the announcements are in open white boxes. All right, so your menu tab for your My Math Lab. Here's you're gonna have your library where you can go directly to the sections that you want um, to help you for your homework. Okay. Again, My Math Lab also has a study plan, so you can go ahead and practice other examples that are related to the sections that you're covering. Okay. So you also have resources. You'll have also uh, PowerPoint slides to help you for every section. You'll also have video transcripts. You know, you can have um, like uh, written document as far as what the sections are about, okay, with the videos. All right, so you also have skills for success. So these are crucial that I always um, emphasize to my students to always look and go over. So that these are some also helpful things. You know, one of the one of my strongest encouragements that I tell students is to always change this mindset that you can do math. I know some of you dislike math or you think it's too difficult, but it is possible to do. It requires practice. Okay, so for some of us it might take a little bit more practice than others, but it can be done. But we have to change this the way we think that we cannot do it, but we can. We can do anything with practice. Okay. All right. So again, skipping through, you also have some extra modules to help you um, succeed not only in this class but for college. There's a whole bunch of helpful information to help you entering your college courses. Okay, and again, you have some professional tools, some things to look at as far as for when you're job searching, or say you're looking right now for job opportunities. This is a great site also that's provided to you to look at. Okay. All right, and then tools for success. Again, these are more tools to help you as far as note taking, preparing for your quizzes or exams. Okay. All right, so let's go into some of the tools. So let's start here first with again the one that I tell all my students about that I like a lot too is let's say that you're in a problem and you need help. You need help solving it. You're not sure on how to solve it. Well, you have several options. The first one here, and it's kind of the most popular one with students. It's help me solve this, and what it does, it gives you a very similar problem, and it shows you step by step on how to solve it. Okay, and then that way you can go back and look at yours and be able to apply those same steps. Okay, you could also look at an example. It's something similar that will show you how the fundamentals on how to do the problem, and then the last but not least is let's say that these two things you're still lost, you're still not sure as far as what the problem is asking you, or you keep on getting it wrong. Please be mindful because some instructors give you only certain tries to get a 100 on your assignments. So always reach out to them. So there's that button again, like WebAssign, Ask My Instructor. You click on it. It's going to give you a text box where you can tell your instructor, you know what, I keep putting this in wrong or keeps marking it wrong. I'm still not sure on how I'm supposed to answer. Send that out. Your instructor gets a direct message saying, and it's telling us who you are, what class you're in, what problem you're in, what you're having trouble. And this is a speed way for us to answer your questions that come from your assignments. Okay? All right. So again, examples here. You know, if your answers are incorrect, they're gonna mark it with an X. Okay. And if you get the right answer, it's they or sorry, excuse me. This is an example of an example. Let's say on this one, I'm not sure how to calculate it. This is by me clicking the view an example. If you see, it's very similar. They just changed the numbers. The 5 is now a 7. The 8 is a 5. The 4 is a 2, and the exponent instead of a 2, it's a 4. Very similar, but it helps you see how they're solving it. Okay. Also, this is an example. If you click on the videos, um, you'll have an instructor that will tell you a little bit of section 1.1 and give you some explanations and definitions as far as that section. Okay. Again, my math lab also has an ebook. Again, your ebook is fine. You don't need to go out and purchase the hard copy book, only if you want to. Okay. Again, and if you buy again from the bookstore, you can get the access code and the physical book. Okay. So this is an example of 1.3 of the ebook. Okay. All right, so we can go into graphing. Ms. Chuka, would you like to go over the reviews of graphing?
Ruben, I think I mean, I'll do that one, Ruben. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. All right, Mr. Sazi, go for it.
Okay, students, on the graphing equations, there's different ways to graph equations. First, I'm going to be showing you guys the point plotting method, and then afterwards, I'm going to show you the x and y intercept method. Okay, so let me continue here. Okay, say you have the equation y equals to negative 2x plus 5. So you're going to do like a little table. Okay, let me see here. Right, so you do a table. You're going to plug, choose values for x. Why x? Because it's going to be easier to find the y. So for example, we're going to choose negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Why do we choose those points? Because those points are kind of small. If you want, you can even choose 100 or 88, but that's going to make your work a lot more complicated. And anyway, it's going to be off the grid. So you always try to get numbers like 0 and the 1, 0, 1, and 2. Those are the most common points to use for the x value. So say, for example, x is negative 2. We're going to plug in negative 2 where the x is in the equation. So if you notice, we got, if it's negative 2, it's going to be 4 plus 5, so y is equal to 9. So when x is negative 2, y is equal to 9. So we got the point negative 2, 9. In a similar fashion, now we're going to plug in negative 1 where the x is, right? After we simplify, we're going to get y equals, is going to be 2 plus 5, is going to give us 7. So the point is negative 1, 7. So that's my next point, negative 1, 7. Now we keep repeating the process, but now we're going to use 0. So if we plug in 0 for the x, we're going to get 0 plus 5, which is equals 5, so y equals 5. So when x is 0, y is 5. Okay, now we're going to use 1. So when x is 1, we're going to plug in the value, for x. So we're going to simplify, we get negative 2 plus 5, so y is equal to 3, which give us the point 0. Let's see, this is supposed to be a 1 here, so it's going to be, let me see here, so when x is 1, this is supposed to be 1, 3, guys. I did a mistake here. This is supposed to be 1, 3. And when x is 2, this is supposed to be 2, 1. So this point here, I did a mistake. That's supposed to be 1, and that's supposed to be 2. So this point here is going to be 1, 3, and 2, 3. Okay. And then we plot them on the Cartesian plane. So this is my point, negative 2, 9. Then we get the negative 1, 7, the 0, 5, the 1, 3, and the 2, 1. And all the points must be on the line. If not, that means that we did something wrong here on the work. Okay, but anyway, it only takes 2 points to graph. So at times on your MyMathLab, they just ask you to graph, right, with no table. I mean, with no table. You just use 2 points because we only need 2 points to graph. But here, for the sake of practice, they want you to use, say, 5 points or 5 values for x, and you solve for y. Again, this is my line. Okay, now let's graph the equation y equals to 5 minus x squared. Again, by point plotting. Okay, so again, we do a table, right? If you notice, we chose the same values for x, which is negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So then here we go. We have, right, so we're going to plug in the value negative 2 for the x here in the equation. So it's going to simplify to y equals 1. So when x is negative 2, y is equal to 1. And repeating the process, right? Now we're going to plug in negative 1, for the x's. So this is going to give us 5 minus 1 is going to give us 4. So when x is negative 1, y is 4. And then continuing with 0, right? So when we plug in 0 for the x, it's going to give us y equals to 5. And then when we plug in 1 for the x, the y is going to be 4. So this is my point. And finally, when we plug in 2 for the x, my y is 1. So then, right, so then we go to the graph and graph it. So we're going to plot our points. So you notice this point here is going to be a parabola. Everything that has a square on the x is going to be a quadratic function, so it's always going to be a parabola. In this case, right, then we graph the point. So this is the way the graph is going to look, an upside down parabola. And why is it upside down? Because the coefficient in front of the x squared is negative. Okay, but that's another topic that's going to be discussed in I think in future PowerPoints. Okay, now we're going to do it a little bit different, right? So I already showed you by plotting the plotting method. Now comes by finding the x and y intercept. We have the equation y equals to negative 2x plus 5. So here we're going to solve it by finding the x and y intercept. Hey guys, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, and the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, so for example, here the y-axis will be 0, the y-intercept will be 0, 3, and in this case it's going to be negative 3, 0 for the x-intercept. Okay, now, so what are the rules? To find the x-intercepts, we're going to let y equals 0 and solve for x. And to solve for the y-intercepts, we let x equal 0 and solve for y. Okay, now here first, we're finding the x-intercepts. So we're going to let y equal 0 and solve for x, right? So y is going to be 0. And all we do is we're going to subtract 5 to both sides because we want to isolate the x. So the first step is to send the 5, right, to the left side by subtracting 5 to both sides. So after we do that, right, we're going to get negative 5 equals to negative 2x. Then to isolate the x, we divide both sides by negative 2. So we get negative 5 divided by negative 2 will give us positive 5 over 2. So this is my x-intercept. Now, now let's find the, let's see here. Now for the y-intercept, right, the y-intercept will be easier, right, because the y is already isolated. So all we do is plug in 0 for the x, right? So when x is 0, it's going to be negative 2 times 0 will give us 0. So the y will be 5. So it's going to be 0, 5. So the 5 halves will be my 5 halves 0 will be my x-intercepts, and 0, 5 will be my y-intercept. Okay, let me see here. So then this is how we graph them, right? I believe on MyMathLab, I mean, I don't know about WebAssign, but I believe in MyMathLab, it's a little bit, I don't think it has the capability. But for now, right, we know that 5 halves is 2.5. That's why it's right here. On paper, it will be much easier, right? Because you can just show your instructor that that 5 halves is between 2 and 3. So all you do is put a point there and connect the lines. I mean the points to make the line. But in the sake for graphing in MyMathLab or WebAssign, there's different ways to graph this equation, which I believe is using the y-intercept form. Okay, so there's other ways to graph this one. This is only by finding the x and y-intercept. That's what we're covering right now. Okay,
All
now
right.
this is the other way that I was talking about. This is by this is I mean, writing equations of a line. So this, the ax plus by equals c, is called a general form. Y minus y sub 1 equals to m, x minus x sub 1 is called a point slope form. And y equals to mx plus b is called a y-intercept form. Okay, Yvette, can you take over? Thank you, Yvette.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Isasi. So
Oh, you're welcome.
we're going to be looking at how do we write equations of a line. And so as Mr. Isasi was saying, there's 3 types of, or 3 ways that we can have the equation of a line represented. We have the general form, which looks like this, or we have the point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is actually a popular form that would be used quite a bit. And then we have the y equals mx plus b, which is also very popular. So these 2 are the most popular used than the general form. So in this equation, if y is isolated, then we can say that the number in front of x, which we call m here, is your slope. And the slope determines how steep a line is. And it also determines if it's going to be an increasing or a decreasing line, or if it's going to be a horizontal line or a vertical line. And then the b is your y-intercept. Notice that the x is 0. And so if you know the slope and the y-intercept, you can always write the equation of a line. So let's look at some examples. Let's say I give you this, write the equation of the line with slope 4 and y-intercept 5. So in this problem, they already give me the slope. So I'm going to say that m is equal to 4 and the y-intercept is b is equal to 5. So if I look at this form here, I can just simply substitute the value of m and b, and it's going to provide me with the equation y equals 4x plus 5. Okay, so let's look at another example. So now the example gives us a line that has a slope of -2, and it passes through the point 0, -4. So what you want to ask yourself is, do I know the slope? In this case, we do. And do I have the y-intercept? So they give me a point. What's special about this point? Notice that x is 0. So that means that this point is actually going to be our y-intercept. So anytime that your x is 0, that's always going to be your y-intercept. So here my y-intercept is -4. So I can place that into the equation. And so m was -2, and then b is -4. So that's going to be my answer, y equals -2x minus 4. Now we know it's not always going to be this simple, right? So let's go into another one that's a little bit different. So we have write the equation of a line that passes through the points 1, -3, and 0, 4. So what do we know about these 2 points? Do we have the y-intercept? And yes, we have the y-intercept. Let me just plug in my computer because it's telling me to plug in. So your y-intercept is 0, 4. But what about the slope? Do they tell me that m is equal to some number? They don't give me that information. However, to find the slope, all we need is 2 points. And so let's look at that next. Okay, so to find the slope, we can use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And so to label your points, you can choose any, the first point here, you can call that x1, y1. And your second point, you can call it x2, y2, or vice versa. And so here, I went ahead and labeled them as x1, y1, x2, y2. But again, if you wanted to, you could have called this x2, y2, and x1, y1, and you'll still end up with the same answer. So we substituted into the formula here. Y2 was 4, y1 is -3, x2 is 0, and x1 is 1. So if we simplify, we get 4 minus -3 is 4 plus 3, which is going to be 7. 0 minus 1 is -1. So 7 divided by -1 is equal to -7. So now I have a slope and I have my y-intercept. So we can take that information and substitute it into our equation. So m is -7 and b is 4. Okay. Later on next week, you'll start looking at, well, if it's a negative, is it going to be increasing or decreasing? And we'll learn more properties about what the slope does for the line. Okay, so let's look at this equation. Write the equation of a line that passes through the points 2, 0 and -1, 4. So again, the two questions you want to ask yourself is, do they give me the slope? And if they don't, do they give me enough information to find the slope? And in this case, they do give me enough information to find the slope. And then the second question is, do I have a y-intercept? Okay, so let's go step at a time. So first we'll find the slope. So I'm going to substitute my values into the equation. So y2 is 4, and then y1 should be a 0 here. So let me just rewrite it with my pen. Give me a second.
Sorry to interrupt. Is there a problem when we put the x1 first instead of the y1?
No, because you can switch them around, right? As long as you, for example, let me get my pen out again.
So, for example, on the one that says m equals 4 minus 2, is there a problem if I put like 2 minus 4 or something like that?
No, essentially, and I'll go ahead and do it that way right now. So I don't know why my pen isn't working. So if you want to do the 2 first, you could do that. But first, let's do the y's, right? So 0 minus 4 divided by the 2 minus -1. And so here I switch them around, right? So we get a -4 divided by negative would be positive. So we would end up with a 3. If I did it the other way, which I'm going to do it down here, where I use the 4 first minus 0 divided by 1 minus 2, negative 1 minus 2. Then we still end up with 4 divided by negative 3. And so here, notice that the negative in the first one is on the top of the 4, and then the negative is on the denominator 3. But when you divide these, we just end up with negative 4/3 either way, okay? So sometimes in your graphing, you might want to apply the negative to the numerator or denominator when you're trying to graph an equation, which we'll talk about, I think, in a little bit. So to answer your question, it doesn't matter which number you put first, as long as the most important thing is that if you use this number first, then you have to use this one first in the denominator. So you have to keep them together. Notice I have 1 and 1 and 2 and 2, or I could have 2 and 2 and 1 and 1. Okay, so now I have my slope, which is negative 4/3, and my y-intercept, if you think that 2, 0 is your y-intercept, you can put an emoji in the chat or a happy face emoji. If you think that it's not, then you can put a sad face, right? So is this our y-intercept, 2, 0? What do you guys think? Okay, so let me go one slide back. Actually, 2 slides back. So notice here, we had our y-intercept was 0, 4, but in the new problem, where is that 0? Is it in the right place? It's not in the right place, right? So this is actually not the y-intercept, it's the x-intercept, okay? So no problem, right? So we'll keep going here. Since it's not the y-intercept, then we need to do something else to find that y-intercept. And so we're gonna go ahead and go here. So you can use one of the following. You can use the point slope here or the y-intercept form. And so let me see which one we're gonna pick. And then you're gonna need 1 point. So you can choose this point or you can choose this point. It doesn't matter which of the two you pick. I'm gonna pick the first one since there's a 0 here, then there might be less work, right? All right, so we're gonna substitute our values. So y, I'm gonna call this, let me get my pen out really quick. And so I'm gonna call this point here x1 and y1, okay? So if we substitute for y1, we're gonna substitute the 0, right? And then for our slope, instead of -2, we had found negative 4/3. Okay, so let me go ahead and write that out. And I don't know why my pen is acting all crazy, but I will try here. So we're gonna have, oops. Let me get it again. So we're gonna have y minus 0 is equal to, instead of -2, remember our slope was negative 4/3 x minus 2. Okay. And so if we keep working this, then we can now solve for y. So in order to solve for y here, I would need to multiply that negative 4/3 into the parentheses. So I'm going to have y minus 0 is just y, and negative 4/3 times x is negative 4/3 x, and negative times a -2, or negative 4/3 times -2 is going to be a positive 8/3. Okay. So I think I have another example where hopefully there's not a mistake in there. But the point is that we're trying to make is that in order to find the equation, you're going to need the slope, which is here, and then the y-intercept. So if they don't give you the y-intercept, then you can use one of these two forms. We pick 1 point, and then we use the slope, plug it in, and solve for y. So let's see if we have another example here. Okay, well, let me show you how to use it with the other one. So for this one here, Y is still 0, so we're going to plug in the 0. And then M, just for the purposes here, I'm going to assume, let's just assume that M was correct, -2. And then X, you will plug in your X. And then you're going to solve for that B. So B is 4. And then you would just plug it into your equation. Okay. So let's do another one that hopefully doesn't have a mistake there. Okay, well, this one is going to require us to do the same thing. So it says, write the equation of a line that is parallel to the line y equals -2x plus 4 and passes through the point -3, 4. So something that is a key word here is going to be the word parallel. So parallel lines, this is going to be an important word here. So parallel lines are the ones that never intersect. And something special about parallel lines is that they're going to have the same slope. Okay? So in this equation, we have one line already, and that line is this one here. So for this equation, we're going to need to know what the slope is. So if you all in the chat want to participate, if you want to write in what the slope is for that equation I underlined, what is that slope going to be? M is equal to what? Any ideas? Okay, so remember the slope-intercept form is going to look like this. So the slope is going to be the number in front of x. So that is correct. So M is going to be -2. And so now that you have your slope, then in order to write the new equation that we're looking for, we're going to use our slope and we're going to use the point that they give us. So this is -3 and 4. And then we can write the equation. Okay, so here's just an idea of what we have. This black line here that I have here, that is the line that I underlined, which was y equals -2x plus 4. The point they give me is -3 and 4. And so essentially we want to find the line that is parallel to that one, which is going to be this line passing through that point. So far, to recap, this first line, we said that the slope is -2. And now we just know for our second line, we're going to use the point -3, 4. And so if we substitute these values, I know I'm going to use the same slope because they're parallel. So we're going to use the same slope. And now we can just do the work. So we can use either form. So let's go ahead and use the point slope. So we're going to have y minus y1. So remember that y1 is coming from our point, so 4. And then our slope was -2. We use the same slope. X minus x1 is -3. So if we simplify, then we are going to negative is +3. Then we can distribute the -2 in here. Let me go ahead and press enter. So -2 times x is -2x. -2 times 3 is -6. And then we want to solve for y, so I'm going to add 4 on both sides. And when we add 4 on both sides, then we get y is equal to -2x. -6 plus 4 would be -2. So that's going to be our equation of that second line. Okay, let's try. And so here, now they're asking for perpendicular. Okay, so instead of parallel, we want to find, so instead of parallel, we're going to find perpendicular. So perpendicular lines are lines that actually, I apologize about my pen there, but perpendicular lines are lines that intersect, but when they intersect, they form a right angle. And so as we can see here in this graph here, here is your first equation, y equals -2x plus 4. Here's the point that they give me, but now we want to find a perpendicular line. So when they intersect, they're going to form this right angle. Okay. So in order to find the perpendicular line, we're going to use something called negative reciprocals. And so in order to find the negative reciprocal, what that happens is you take your slope, which is -2, we're going to change the sign. So instead of negative, we're going to use a positive. And then we take the reciprocal of the number 2, which means that we're basically flipping the number around if it's a fraction. So remember, negative 2 can be written as negative 2 divided by 1. So we take the negative reciprocal, then we're going to flip that fraction. So we get, my pen. So we're going to have a negative, and then the reciprocal of this number is negative 1 over 2. So negative negative becomes positive. Okay, so for shortcut, we like to say, some people like to say, just switch the sign. So if, excuse me, so if you started with a negative, you're going to switch the sign to positive, and then we flip the fraction, which is a half. So the information we need now is that the slope is a half, and then we have the point negative 3/4. So we can take that information, plug it into our point slope form here. So we're going to have y minus 4 is equal to a half x minus negative 3. So if we simplify, then we get negative negative is a positive. We're going to multiply the half inside. So 1/2 times x is a half x. 1/2 times 3 is 3/2. We're going to add 4 on both sides. Okay, so we are adding 4 there. And in order to add the two fractions, remember you have to have a common denominator. So this one has a 2. So in order to make this have a denominator of 2, we multiply the 4 times 2, which is 8. And then we leave our 2 as our denominator. So now that they have the same denominator, we can add the numerators. So 8 plus 3 is going to be 11 halves. So our equation is going to be 1/2 x plus 11 halves. Okay. So depending on your classes, writing the equations of a line will start appearing, at least for 1314, around section 1.3. And for 1324, I don't remember the section, but this is how you will write the equation of a line. So we do want to invite you to join us every Friday. We will be covering topics that are supposed to happen in 1314 and 1324 during that week. And so the staff will show you what topics are coming up for next week. And so thank you for joining us today. And there's the staff is going to go ahead and make a couple of announcements.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chuka. Again, thank you to the three of you, Mr. Carizales, Mr. Sassi, and Ms. Chuka, for your wonderful presentation. We do want to remind you all about our previously recorded sessions, which are available on a YouTube playlist. This session will also be available on that playlist later today. Also linked is a short survey to help us improve our TVE sessions. Please take a few minutes to fill out that survey, and please remember to send your student ID number to us before you log out. Ms. Della has sent individual messages to everyone to sign you all in. Please make sure to have replied to those messages before exiting the session. If you would like to download a copy of the presentations, you can go to the top right corner and click on the box with the little arrow going down while the presentations are on the screen. That'll allow you to download the presentations or whatever is on the screen. Before you all leave, I want to share the TVE sessions that we will have next week. Give me just a second to go ahead and share that. So, at 1 p.m. today, we will have a student success tutoring tour. And then join us again next week at 11 a.m. Oh, I'm so sorry. There we go. Join us again next week at 11 a.m. For a happy math hour, where we will be covering evaluating combination of functions, composite functions, and our 1 p.m. session will be taxes with Sandra Campbell. Thank you all for coming in today. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box or your mic. We hope you all have a lovely weekend, and we hope to see everyone again here next week for Happy Math Hour.